It'll never be the same because our brother's not here. DMX, you know, rest in peace. You know, we formed like a brotherhood. I didn't have to see him. I didn't have to call him. He didn't have to call me. When we saw each other though, it was that.
Right there.
It was that. It was beyond.
Okay, I see what's really good. You're trying to eliminate the competition. You know, because at first you retire, you know, then get me off the label. Now you're back rapping again. Okay.
Jay and Beyoncé. And they dropped the same day as Nas. The Nas have some type of glitch problem where Tidal wouldn't release his album for at least 24 hours.
Nas is finally letting it all out, and what he's saying has been whispered in the industry for years. He's not just talking rivalry, he's calling Jay-Z and Beyoncé ruthless. According to Nas, when these two feel threatened, they don't just compete, they undercut, and he's naming names. One of their biggest targets, DMX.
We work around the same time, and then the time.
They said Stillmatic came out December 18th. They said Jay released Unplugged. Then they said Street Disciple November 30th. Then Collision Course. Nas's greatest hits, American Gangster. Nasir, Everything Is Love. The Lost Tapes, Beyonce, Jay-Z, Lion King.
And that's where it got stupid with the Lion King soundtrack. The Lion King soundtrack is when it gets kind of...
See, everyone knew there was tension between X and Hov, but the real drama was way deeper than the public ever saw. DMX himself once said that Jay straight up sabotaged his 6th album on purpose. Why? Because Jay-Z didn't want to go head-to-head, so instead of competing fairly, Jay delayed the release behind closed doors, stopping DMX's momentum cold, even though X was still one of the only rappers who could actually outsell Jay back then.
A competitive thing, but it was big love. He was so competitive with me. I never met a human being more competitive with me, like ever, not even my big brother.
And now Nas says he got played the same exact way. When he dropped his long-awaited album, Nasir, produced by Kanye West, it was supposed to be his grand return, huge hype, major buzz, but out of nowhere, guess what happened?
What happened was, you know, like I said, I had the crazy track record, Def Jam, everything was good. You know, I go to do the 6th album, and, you know,
Jay-Z became president.
Yeah. You know, when he first got the job, he hit me with the call like, yo, dog, inmates is running the building like, yo, you good? Finish the album, shoot the video. What happened? Niggas go on vacation and, you know, we don't know. What you mean you don't know? How do you listen to a whole album, pick a single, shoot a video, then don't know?
Literally one day later, Jay-Z and Beyoncé came out of the shadows and surprise dropped Everything Is Love. Not just the album, a whole music video already shot in Paris was ready to go. Talk about a power move. Come on now, nobody just accidentally drops a whole visual album the day after their longtime rival finally makes a comeback.
It was really good. You're trying to eliminate the competition. You know, because at first you retire, you know, then get me off the label. Now you're back rapping again. Okay. It's all good. It's all good.
Nas saw right through that slick move because this ain't the first time Jay-Z pulled something like this. It's been a straight up pattern for years. And what makes it even messier, Nas wasn't even trying to start beef. He was on grown man timing, focused on his own lane. But clearly, the Carters were still playing chess in the shadows. Whether it's jealousy, insecurity, or just pure pettiness.
I don't think one man could destroy another man's life. It's ultimately in your own decisions. You know, I had a lot of issues. Like I said, legal issues at the time. And, you know, my mind wasn't where I'm at now today. Like, I used to have questions like why every time my album dropped, Jay would drop right on top of me. He wouldn't let me breathe or right before me. Like, I was always close, and I never understood that every single album that I dropped, Jay dropped right on top of me. And it was like, damn, like that in-house competition at that magnitude was crazy. Jay already the boss, but I always thought that, like, let me breathe.
Nas is now calling Jay out for a long history of quietly blocking anybody who might shine too bright, especially if they're competition. And while he's doing that, he's hiding behind Beyoncé's flawless image and her army of loyal fans who defend them both no matter what. And let's talk DMX. His name's been trending again because fans are digging up the receipts. He was one of the only rappers bold enough to call Jay out to his face, while everybody else stayed quiet, too scared to speak on Jay or Beyoncé. But here's where it gets real twisted. After DMX passed in April 2021, Jay suddenly popped up on LeBron James's show, acting like everything was love. He tried to flip the whole narrative, saying DMX was just too competitive, like the tension was mutual and harmless.
Jay-Z and Cameron, 106 in Park. What was going through your mind in that interview?
Nobody told me he was coming. Pause. So when I'm sitting there thinking I'm getting my moment on 106 in Park, talking about my shit and how my shit is doing well, and he comes out the back, and I'm like, it's like, what's going on? So I'm sitting there just trying to be as cool as I can because, you know, this is my time to be on 106 in Park and talk about my shit. But like you said, I don't even remember what you said, but obviously it turned into his album.
So we heard you're working on another album. Can you tell us about it? What's going on?
Blueprint 2, The Gift and the Curse.
Oh, on my time, and like I said, I didn't know he was there. If I knew he was there, then, you know, we would have vibed it out, but it was more like a surprise. That's kind of probably what my face was. It wasn't more of disgust, it was more of a, what's going on?
But here's what Jay-Z conveniently left out. According to DMX himself, it was Jay who kicked off this whole competition game way back in 2004. That's when Jay-Z stepped into major power moves, taking over as president of Def Jam right after Lyor Cohen left, and from that moment on, everything started changing behind the scenes. Let's not forget, DMX was Def Jam. From 1998 to 2003, he dropped 5 back-to-back #1 albums. No skips, no flops. He carried the label while others were still finding their footing. But as soon as Jay got that executive title, X says things got shady real quick.
Valentino giving me stressed out. That's not what I'm going to do. Yeah, I could have put up movies. I could have showed the R. Kelly video that everybody's talking about, made fun of it, and said, yo, Jay's hanging out. When Jay and them was in there doing Best of Both Worlds, you can't tell me Jay didn't see a 14-year-old girl come in the studio and sit on R. Kelly's lap. No. You can't tell me, you want to sit here and tell me that working on that album that he ain't never seen a 14-year-old girl.
Suddenly, the rollout for his 6th album, Year of the Dog, again started falling apart. And guess what was going on around that same time? Jay-Z had just decided to unretire and jump back into the rap game. DMX said it loud. Jay didn't want any real competition standing next to him, especially not from someone like X, who still had the power to outsell him. That's when it all clicked for DMX. He saw through the act and realized Jay was moving out of insecurity, not strategy. He was using his position to quietly sideline anybody who threatened his shine. That was the final straw. DMX said enough and walked away from Def Jam. But here's the kicker.
My belief is that anybody who's worked with him and been in his cipher has seen it go down.
Brother needs help, and I pray for him. But if I sit there and did an album about women with him, I'm definitely maybe indulgent. He had to be indulgent for 14.
This wasn't just about X. This was just one piece of a bigger pattern that shows how Jay's been using his industry clout to push down anyone who might rise above him. Let's talk Beanie Sigel for a second. He's one of the many artists who saw Jay-Z's sneaky moves up close. Beanie recently revealed that Jay had a habit of dropping his own albums right when Beanie had something on the way. Not by coincidence, on purpose. Every time Beanie was set to shine, Jay would drop something to make sure the spotlight didn't leave him. And it didn't stop there. Remember what happened with Cameron? That wild 106 in Park moment? Cam had an interview lined up ready to promote his stuff, but Jay-Z just popped in unannounced and took over the whole show. Cameras rolling, crowd hyped, and suddenly it was all about Jay. That wasn't no accident, that was calculated. See, Jay never wanted anyone from the camp or outside it to start getting close to his level. But instead of stepping up lyrically or battling it out on the mic, he played it slick, pulling behind-the-scenes power plays to block anyone rising too fast.
Look, when Jay signed his contract, the big one was with Beyoncé. Mm-hmm. When he signed that contract, the marriage contract, he got trophies. Now those fucking trophies, trophies came rolling in, buddy. He started getting Grammys left and right, man. I mean, look, if you look at his career,
You're gonna let him say that? Jay was getting Grammys.
He had one.
Exactly.
He had one.
And he didn't show up.
He has like 20 now.
Hold on.
He had like 18 since he's been down. Look, he had one, bro. Hard Knock Life.
Hold on. You're not wrong. At the same time.
He got them shits. He's like drinking. His pictures with him like fucking thinks the cup.
Wait a minute. So you're saying the success is derived from the marriage?
I've absolutely been treated differently.
The accolades. Because he's no longer viewed as what, like a street or gangster rapper. Now he's viewed as a businessman, entrepreneur, family man.
And the biggest ones because of the position Beyonce's.
Oh wow! So that's the deal he signed, huh?
Yeah, that's the deal. Like the other ones didn't count as much as that one did.
And Nas, he's been dealing with this for years. Jay-Z's shady timing has followed him like a shadow. Back in December 2001, Nas dropped Stillmatic, one of his biggest comeback moments, and just a week later, Jay dropped his MTV Unplugged performance, trying to steal the attention. Then in 2004, when Nas released Street's Disciple, guess what? Jay linked up with Linkin Park and dropped Collision Course. Again, perfect timing to distract. Let's keep it going because the timeline doesn't lie. In 2007, Nas dropped his greatest hits project, and bam, just days later, Jay-Z slid in with American Gangster. Coincidence? Maybe once, but this pattern is way too consistent to ignore. Fast forward to 2018, Nas finally released his long-hyped, Kanye-produced album, Nasir. Fans had been waiting years for that drop, but before the hype could even settle, guess who swooped in?
The kids even have Grammys. Like, they don't sing yet. They don't sing. Right. They don't rap yet. And they already have Grammys and shit. So it's like they give them this trophy so we secure that they're coming.
Jay-Z and Beyoncé dropped Everything Is Love within 24 hours, and not just the album, a full-blown cinematic music video for Apeshed, shot in the freaking Louvre Museum in Paris. That ain't just timing, that's a straight-up chess move. And it didn't stop there. When Nas released the Lost Tapes 2, what happened next? Boom! Just days later, The Lion King, the gift project from Beyoncé and Jay, hit streaming platforms. At this point, you can't even pretend it's all just random, and Nas agrees he sees the pattern clear as day. But here's where it gets even deeper. Nas says Jay hides behind Beyoncé's flawless image to soften the blow of his own shady moves. Like anytime there's backlash, folks are too caught up in the Beyoncé magic to even question what's really happening. And Nas ain't afraid to call it for what it is. One of the most jaw-dropping moments came years ago during Nas's sit-down with Wendy Williams on her radio show. That day, Nas didn't just expose Jay's backdoor industry games, he took it even further. He called Jay out for staying dead silent about R. Kelly despite all the disturbing rumors and allegations already out there. Nas said it plain, Jay knew the red flags but chose to ignore them. All that silence from Jay-Z? Nas says it wasn't just about protecting the best of both worlds bag he had with R. Kelly. It went way deeper than that.
For my brother DMX, it's an honor to be here tonight. At the same time, it's a sad day. It's a glorious day. We stood outside the Tunnel nightclub about to shoot a scene, and he looked at me and tears in his eyes because he knew about the journey he was about to embark on, becoming a hip-hop icon. I want to say my condolences to my brother DMX family, to all his beautiful kids, to Yonkers, to Rough Riders, Swiss Beats, D.Y., Eve, Locks, the whole family, Drag On, everybody. I said my piece, love.
According to Nas, Jay didn't just stay quiet to keep the money flowing. He hinted that Jay might have had his own skeletons locked away, and that silence was a cover-up, not just enabling. But did Jay ever step up and address any of it? Nope. Instead, he flipped the script again, pulling off another calculated rebrand move. When the backlash over R. Kelly hit its peak, Jay didn't speak out. He went behind the scenes and financed the Surviving R. Kelly documentary. That's right, the same doc that ended up playing a major role in Kelly's arrest. After that, Jay-Z emerged with a whole new image. Suddenly, he was Family Man Jay, Beyoncé's supportive husband, father of three, and the polished poster boy for black capitalism. Smooth move, right? But Nas ain't the only one peeping the game. 50 Cent recently chimed in and didn't hold back at all. He flat out said Jay-Z hides behind Beyoncé's superstar image, and went even further by saying their marriage looks more like a business contract than a real love story. And 50 Cent didn't stop there. He threw another shot in a separate interview claiming a lot of Jay-Z's Grammy wins wouldn't have happened if he wasn't tied to Beyoncé. That's a bold statement, but it echoes what more and more people are starting to say out loud, and this all circles back to DMX. X was one of the first to peep the pattern and call Jay out without blinking. Just like Nas, DMX saw how Jay-Z used his power at Def Jam not to lift others up, but to quietly push down anyone who could threaten his spot. X never played the industry game, and neither did Nas. They weren't about to bow down or kiss the ring just because Jay had all the right connections. And that's where their mutual respect came from. Real recognizes real. They both stood on their own 10 toes and refused to be puppets in Jay's carefully controlled narrative. While others stayed silent, worried about burning bridges, Nas and X spoke up, even if it meant losing favor in the industry. So when DMX passed away, it hit Nas hard. Not just because he lost a friend, but because he lost one of the very few artists who wasn't scared to say the truth out loud. But let's be real, Nas and DMX weren't just rappers or industry vets, they were truth tellers. They saw through the smoke and mirrors, and they had the guts to speak on it. From shady album sabotage to using Beyoncé's spotless image as a shield, Jay-Z's behind-the-scenes moves weren't just smart, they were cold-blooded. But here's the real question. How much of this do fans actually see? Is Jay really just playing the game better than anyone else? Or is there something deeper going on that folks have been too scared to speak on? So what do you think? Was Nas right to finally call this out? Was DMX trying to warn us years ago? And does Beyoncé's image play a bigger role in protecting Jay's legacy than people admit? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear everything you got to say. Make sure you like this video if it opened your eyes. Subscribe so you don't miss what we uncover next. Share this with someone who still thinks it's all love behind the scenes. And hit that bell so you're first in line for the next drop. I'll catch you in the next one.